I used to believe that the worst kind of betrayal was the loud kind, the slammed doors, the shouting, the accusations thrown across a dinner table. But I was wrong, because the worst betrayal is the quiet one, the kind that happens inside your own chest long before anyone else notices. The kind that sits in your throat like a confession you're too afraid to speak. And that is exactly where I found myself. The night my 18-year-old son, Daniel, looked at me not as his mother, but as a flawed, fragile woman he no longer fully understood. I was 36, still young enough to feel restless, still old enough to know better. Married for 19 years to a man who had slowly become more of a routine than a partner, and while nothing dramatic had happened between us, there was a widening silence that neither of us had tried very hard to close, and in that silence I had made small emotional compromises that felt harmless at first, lingering conversations with someone who listened a little too closely. Messages I deleted out of instinct, fantasies about being seen again, not because I didn't love my husband, but because I missed feeling visible. That evening had started ordinarily enough, Daniel offering to help after noticing I seemed exhausted, kneeling at the edge of the couch to rub my aching feet the way he used to when he was younger, and thought it made him my hero. And I remember smiling at him, thinking how quickly he had grown, how his hands were no longer small and clumsy, but steady and strong, how proud I was of the man he was becoming. And yet, beneath that pride was a hollow place inside me that I had been trying to ignore for months. While he talked about college applications and a girl he wasn't sure liked him back, my mind drifted. Not to him, but to the message I had received earlier that day from someone who was indeed my husband. Someone who had written words that made my pulse quicken in a way I hadn't felt in years. And I hated myself for the warmth that spread through me at the memory of it. Hated that my son was offering innocent comfort while my thoughts were tangled somewhere they had no right to be. I must have gone distant because Daniel stopped mid-sentence and looked up at me asking if I was okay, and in that split second I realized how thin the line was. Between being a mother and being a woman with secrets, how unfair it was that he could sense my distraction without knowing its source. I tried to brush it off, but something about the way he studied my face concerned. Searching made me feel exposed, as if he could see the guilt flickering behind my eyes. And that was when my phone, carelessly left on the coffee table, lit up with another message, the screen bright in the dim room, and I saw Daniel's gaze shift toward it. Not suspicious yet, just curious, and I felt a surge of panic far too intense for what should have been nothing. I reached for the phone too quickly, too defensively, and that was my first real mistake, because children, even grown ones, know the language of secrecy. And in that moment, something in his expression changed, not accusation. Not anger, just confusion layered with the faintest sting of realization. He didn't ask to see it, didn't demand explanations, but he did withdraw his hands from my feet and sit back slightly, as though an invisible wall had risen between us and the room. Felt smaller, heavier, as if the air itself had thickened with the weight of what neither of us were saying. I tried to recover the moment by asking about his school again, but the warmth had drained from the conversation, replaced by a polite distance that frightened me more than shouting ever could have. Because Daniel had always been open with me, always trusted me, and now I could feel that trust bending under a pressure he couldn't quite name. Later that night, after he retreated to his room, I found myself staring at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. Not seeing a villain, but not recognizing the woman looking back either, wondering when loneliness had turned into secrecy, when harmless attention had begun to feel like oxygen, and whether I had already crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. My husband Mark came home late as usual, kissed my forehead absently, and asked about Daniel's day without noticing the tension humming just beneath the surface. And for the first time I realized how easy it had become for the three of us to live parallel lives under the same roof, intersecting only out of habit. The next morning, Daniel avoided eye contact at breakfast, answering in short sentences, his usual easy smile replaced with something guarded. And though he never mentioned the message, I could sense the question lingering between us. Who are you when you think no one is watching? Days passed like that, each one stretching the silence further, until finally Mark confronted me. Not angrily, but with a weary confusion, saying Daniel had asked him whether people could love someone and still look elsewhere. And my heart sank, because I knew that question had not come from nowhere. The confrontation that followed was not explosive, but it was raw, stripped of pretense, Mark asking if there was something he should know. Daniel standing in the doorway overhearing more than I intended him to, and I felt cornered not by their accusations, but by my own conscience. I admitted there had been messages that I had let someone make me feel desired, that I had physically betrayed my marriage, but had emotionally drifted close enough to taste the edge of it. And saying the words aloud felt like peeling back a wound I had carefully bandaged in denial. Mark's hurt was quiet, almost stunned, and Daniel's was sharper. Not because he fully understood marriage complexities, but because his image of me had cracked. And I saw in his eyes the painful recognition that parents are not immune to weakness. What shattered me most was not anger but disappointment. The subtle shift in how he addressed me, no longer with the easy affection of a son who believes his mother stands on unshakable moral ground, but with the cautious tone of someone recalibrating their understanding. In the weeks that followed, our home felt like a house after a storm, no visible destruction, yet everything subtly out of place. Conversations measured, laughter tentative, trust rebuilding, molecule by molecule. I ended the outside connection completely, not because I was forced to, but because I finally understood that what I had been seeking externally was a reflection of something broken internally, something that needed honest repair rather than secret validation. Therapy sessions began, uncomfortable but necessary, forcing Mark and me to articulate years of neglect and unmet needs, forcing Daniel to voice how unsettling it had been to glimpse the fragility behind the role he depended on. There were nights I lay awake fearing I had permanently altered how my son would view relationships, worrying that my moment of emotional selfishness had planted seeds of doubt in his understanding of loyalty. And I had to accept that consequences are not always dramatic. They are often subtle shifts that echo for years. Yet slowly, through uncomfortable honesty and deliberate effort, something steadier began to grow in our family. Not the naive trust we once had, but a more mature version of it, one that acknowledged imperfection without excusing it. Daniel eventually sat beside me one evening, not kneeling at my feet as before, but shoulder to shoulder, and told me he didn't think I was a bad person, just a human one, and hearing that both relieved and humbled me, because I realized that the greatest lesson I could offer him was not the illusion of flawlessness, but the courage to confront mistakes openly. I don't romanticize what happened, and I don't minimize it either, because that night marked the moment my son saw me break from the pedestal he had unknowingly placed me on. And while part of me mourns the loss of that simpler image, another part understands that growth often begins with discomfort. Our family is not the same as it was before, but perhaps it is more honest, less performative. And though I carry the memory of that illuminated phone screen and the look in Daniel's eyes like a permanent scar, I also carry the knowledge that facing guilt directly is the only way to prevent it from quietly rewriting the people we love into strangers. In the end, the conflict was not just about infidelity or secrecy, but about identity, about who we are in our most private thoughts and how those thoughts ripple outward into the lives tethered to ours. And I learned painfully, but permanently, that being a mother does not erase being human, yet being human does not excuse betraying the trust of those who believe in you. And every day since, I choose transparency over temptation, conversation over silence, and accountability over comfort. Because I never again want to see that flicker of lost certainty in my son's eyes.